We are going to talk about today.
He's Darryl. I'm Laura.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
My top 20, number 19, which is a movie you had surprisingly never seen.
Never saw it.
I'm honestly shocked because of your sister's loving older movies.
And she loves this movie. Yeah.
Casablanca. So number 19. I'm going to do the same thing because you haven't seen it. I'm just going to ask you for 30 to 60 seconds of a quick overview. You know a lot about the movie because you've heard it.
Yep.
Did it live up to what you'd heard? Just 30 seconds about your initial...
It went beyond my wildest expectations.
Nice.
I wanted it to be a good movie. It was a great movie. It was fantastic. I thought all the performances were wonderful. I'm usually not a Humphrey Bogart person I don't know why, because I like him in real life, for many reasons. Loved him in this, thought he was just so charming, and the whole movie was fantastic. I thought, what is her name?
Ingrid Bergman.
Ingrid Bergman was stunningly beautiful. She's one of the most gorgeous people I've ever seen. And my favorite character was Renault. And I love him, and I want him in all the movies from now on. So it was fantastic.
All right. Casablanca stars Humphrey Bogart, Ingrid Bergman, Paul Henry, Claude Rains, Conrad Veidt, and Sidney Greenstreet and Peter Lorre. Currently number 3 on the AFI's Top 100. Started out number 2, kicked out by one of your favorite movies, The Godfather.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, so I'm going to do my little quick kind of run through and then we can dive into various things. First off, it's only hit me this time. The movie's in black and white, but doesn't it feel kind of like black, white, and blue? Very
rich. It's very rich toned.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't necessarily feel the blue, but I felt it was just like so rich and dense with that saturation.
It seems unlike other black and white movies of the time. Like, I think you're right that the way it was filmed, the depth, everything to it just gives it a different quality to the black and white that other movies just didn't have. So that's a plus. I'm a massive Humphrey Bogart fan.
Oh, okay.
Maltese Falcon, and I'm surprised it didn't make my list, and I kind of flip-flopped between doing that one or this one. Okay. I went with this one because you hadn't seen it, and it's just such a classic movie. He just has a presence about him. There are certain actors and actresses that when they're on screen, you just can't take your eyes off them. They just have a presence, and to me, he absolutely does. He can deliver lines badly, and they're still amazing. And he is not the greatest actor. He does not have massive depth or range.
And he's incredibly handsome, and yet he was so charming, and you saw why she fell in love with him.
Yeah, and quick little fact about this one, he's actually shorter than she is.
Really?
So a lot of those scenes, he's like standing on a box, or they had to like adjust things so that they could actually have some sort of height similarity. I have a couple little facts I'm going to go through. To me, this one it's a bad analogy, but I think it kind of works. It's like an onion. There are so many layers, and you get all of it very slowly. Like, you don't initially understand why everybody's here in Casablanca and why they want to get out. Like, why are people going here? And then it's explained to you, and you slowly get to see why this is happening. People need exit visas. This is
30-second snippet, and you were there. You understood it.
This is a place that is, it's a French duchy, I think is what it was called. I could be wrong about that. So it's controlled by the French, not by the Nazis, but the Nazis have a very large presence there, which is why they're constantly there, but it's not Nazi controlled, which is why they're able to get away with this. One of the big things about this movie that people always go to is what a great love story it is. What a beautiful, beautiful love story. And I agree with that. But the love story is just kind of your entrance into the story. Like, it's told through these people, and you get all of this richness that is happening around them, and all of these complex dynamics that are happening being essentially told through this love story. The love story is the catalyst for a lot of things. It's not the principle, and I really like that. And I love the fact that they do not get together in the end. I think that is perfect. Brilliant choice. The little side note, they'd actually wanted to film another scene to be the ending scene, which was going to be a scene, because this is, in theory, this is supposed to take place right before the British invasion into Africa.
Okay.
So a lot of the people here were going to be getting on a boat and then going over, and they were going to film that as the last scene, people getting on this boat to go off on for this massive battle. but one of the producers was like, "No, that's gonna fuck up the end, so
Yes.
don't do that."
Yes.
They were like, "Okay."
Mm-hmm. You always talk about greatest first line, greatest last line of a movie ever. So
I have a whole section where I'm going to go through the different very notable lines.
tons of them.
Yeah.
I did not expect as many as I would recognize as catchphrases.
And did
Yeah.
you know that most of those lines were from this movie? Like, you've heard them
Many
your
of them
entire
I
life.
did. Looking at you, kid, that like Everybody Comes to Rick's. I did not know that one.
Yep.
And I've heard that before. And there were a couple that I knew were attached to it, but there were one or two that were surprises.
Of all the gin joints in the world.
I knew that. Yeah.
Okay. The thing I liked when the love story was there, I liked the exploration of that love story. You get the backstory between the two of them, that they were love in Paris, and that she made a choice and he made a choice, but they were still in love with each other. And then the film, once she re-enters, is basically kind of an exploration of, is there things that are more important than love?
Yep.
And the film essentially answers, yes, there are.
Yep.
And this is why they make the choice at the end, because she needs to be with Laszlo so that he can go off and do his good work. He needs her for this. Rick recognizes that and essentially lets her go. Sounds very like guy dominant, but I don't mean it
No, I
that
think
way.
that is what happened because she told him to make the choice.
A lot of things throughout this are very internalized, sometimes even misinterpreted, but they all come back around together, and that's just the strength of writing, that you can have these little side tangents where things go off, but they do come back, and they're all part of the larger story. They serve the story, even if it's a small little side tangent. That's just a testament to the writing of it, which, by the way, they hadn't finished writing when they started
Oh, that's
filming.
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
they were writing as they were going, which is why this was filmed in chronological order, which most films are
Right.
not. You mentioned the French captain. He is so beautifully corrupt.
I love him.
He's so beautifully corrupt.
Exactly.
My favorite line of his is when he goes and shuts down Rick's, and he's like, "I am shocked to find there is gambling going on in this establishment." And the little dude runs up to him and is like, "Here's your winnings, sir." He's like, "Oh, thank you very much."
He plays it perfect.
One of the things that becomes a pivotal moment for me that's trying to get some of the message across is when the Germans start singing their national anthem.
That was a beautiful moment.
And then the French start singing theirs,
Yeah.
and everybody there basically overrides the Germans, and they eventually have to
Yeah.
sit down. I was like, that is so incredibly, number one, well shot, beautiful moment to actually include, and everybody was on board. They knew their assignment, as you like to
Yes,
say.
exactly. One thing, can I jump in on that one
Yeah.
too, is I'm always fascinated by movies about World War II that were made during World War II.
Yes.
And this was made in 44, I think. So
It was before the the invasion of Normandy.
Okay, so 42, that's right, it was 42. But yes, and so that moment of true French patriotism against the Germans, like that not only means a lot now, and I thought it was a beautiful moment, but imagine seeing that in the theater and the power that scene brought to people probably.
Oh no, I've lost where my notes are. I just love this movie. One of the things, and we're gonna keep going back to this because I started to make a list of why things are making this list for me. One is its quotability. Do they have quotes that you can just like you latch onto, and the minute you hear it, you instantly think of that movie, and you feel good about it. Two, the rewatchability. I've only seen this 3 or 4 times. This may have been my 4th. Every time I watch it, there is something new that gets tied together or brought up. I was like, oh, I didn't see that connection before in this thing, but
I could watch this again in a minute.
Yeah. That to me is a big part of why a lot of these movies make it, is that the movie is infinitely rewatchable and you get something new each time. It's not a comfort movie where you're just watching because you know everything already. It's you can watch this and there's new stuff that actually happens. Yeah, I love it. I love that it's a love story, but the love story is not the central part of it.
Yeah.
The two of them, even though I know you're not so down with Bogey, the two of them.
In this movie I absolutely am.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have a great chemistry together on screen that I think, particularly for the time, works. Like, and it's also a different style of acting then, and different way of framing things than we would get nowadays. Like, it would be, I think, almost a little bit more intimate. probably not so many close-ups. There were a ton of close-ups.
Yeah.
Probably not so many. You would have some more mid-range kind of shots where you're seeing people like walk through and act. The way that they're able to utilize very minimal sets, because it's essentially only at Rick's place, excuse me, utilize that incredibly well. It's almost like a filmed play, except for some of the bigger scenes at the end, like the airport stuff. But that's essentially, it's a filmed play utilizing the central area so well. There's very little that I can pick apart in this movie.
The other thing, the person we haven't talked about is Laszlo.
Yeah.
And he's a good dude. This is a love triangle where there's no bad guys. He gives her an opportunity to fess up. He knows that she was with Humphrey Bogart. She doesn't. He still is trying to get her out of the country. He basically is trying to save her life while she's trying to save his life.
Yep.
I will put a question to you, and I know the answer as well as I believe it, is that they were truly in love, she and Humphrey Bogart. There is the question of, did she go to him to try to get her husband out of the country? Give him, she knows at this point.
Using their love.
Yes. So Ilsa knows at this point that Humphrey Bogart has said no. Rick has said no to giving him the papers.
Yeah.
So she goes to Rick and says, I will stay with you. Send him off. Let him do his thing. I will stay with you and we'll be in love. There's definitely a play there of, did she do that because she loved Victor?
Every time I have watched this, I have flip-flopped. Is she actually genuinely in love with him, or is she there because she recognizes that he needs her to be able to do the work? My latest viewing, she's with him because she recognizes that he needs her to do the work. I don't think she's in love with him. I don't think she just likes him. I think she's fine being with him, but I don't think it's the same love that she and Bogey had when they were in Paris.
Yeah.
So, is she using that situation? I don't think initially, I think she was going there to be genuine, but then I think she does use the situation to be like, okay, this is important to me. Here's what I'm willing to do, all couched within a love play.
Yeah. I think she is in love with Rick. I think she loves Victor. So, but different things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think she loves both men, but her stronger pull is to Rick.
We could go off forever about the different types of love you can have with people in different types of relationships. I've been in a relationship where I was desperately, deeply, passionately in love with somebody. And I've been in other relationships where I was in love with them because it was a comfort. And
you can see the two different types.
Correct. And I think you're absolutely right. Her love is two very different faceted things. I think it's a deeper, more passionate love with Rick than it is with Laszlo. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and I think Rick sees the greater good, sees the basically the hill of beans, of what their love is, as compared to the things that are going on in the world right now.
He definitely switches because of getting crushed from earlier. He is just 100% out for himself. He doesn't care about anything. He's not going to put his neck out. Nothing. And then he changes.
But he understands why he was left, and I think that was a gaping hole in him.
Yeah, once they're able to kind of essentially talk it through, and I had a note, and I lost a page of my note somewhere, but basically, this is an example of what can happen when two rational adults sit down and talk things through.
Amazing. Yeah.
Because during that conversation, a lot of things come out on both sides, and they have a different understanding of each other, which is deeper than it was prior going in. They both had these notions in their head of what had happened. Once they talk it through, they realize, oh, okay, it still sucks, but I have a better understanding and now a deeper appreciation for you as a person.
Right.
So that was my note, is like, it's amazing what can happen when two people just sit down and talk.
It's amazing, yes.
So yes, if you have not seen this particular one, you need to go out and see it. I can't recommend it enough for you. I'm just going to basically gush about it. So do you have other questions?
I don't. I think it's a fantastic movie. It's one of those movies that you haven't seen and you know that you have to, but just you want to be in the right mood for it, and it was fantastic.
You are glad that I forced you to watch it first?
Absolutely thrilled you forced me to watch it.
Nice!
Yes. Yep.
This is an example of being forced to do something
that
works.
Is good for you.
Yes.
Exactly. This and Brussels sprouts, both very good. I love Brussels
sprouts. I'm sorry, I have never, ever, ever seen Casablanca and Brussels sprouts compared to each
It's
other.
like roasted with bacon, and it's really good.
Yeah,
So,
I'm not
both
I'm not
excellent, yes.
disagreeing. I'm just laughing
There are
at the
things that you
comparison.
think you have to have, and they're both great when you experience them.
Casablanca, it's like Brussels sprouts.